I
show
think
up?
we'll see well-documented results in the next 10 to 20 years that say mental health defects are actually massively positive. If I didn't have ADHD, I would be nowhere near where I am today.
This is The Summit by Fearless Adventures. I'm Dominic McGregor, and every week my co-founder David Newns and I will be talking to inspirational leaders about their experiences as they strive towards their summit.
Thanks for joining us here at the Summit today. Here at Fearless Adventures, we're talking to amazing entrepreneurs and founders about their journey, whether they're on the way to the summit, whether they've reached the summit, and everything in between. Today, we're here with Pete, who is the CEO of Distract, a marketing agency, amongst many other things. So welcome today, Pete.
Thank you.
Talk to us. Obviously, at the moment, you're the CEO of Distract. Take us back. How did that all start? Where did the journey begin? And what was your kind of passion and mission for doing it?
So it's a really kind of basic, simple story. I was in a friendship group with my friends who all kind of, their parents earned more than my dad, and they were getting nice fancy cars, and I thought the only way I could get a nice fancy car was to do something else. So I tried starting a business at the age of like 16, 17, and then it's one of those journeys that just kind of like compounds in, right? You know, I'm really tight, I'm really stingy. Up until literally last year, I was still working out how many hours I would actually have to work in my old retail job to buy things. Like I would literally be there thinking, I'm going out for a meal, it's cost me 55 quid, that would be 10 hours at my old job. Like I was still doing that like a year ago. So I'm really tight, really stingy, and just keep investing all the time. So just a compound effect from starting a small business at 16.
Amazing.
So obviously, we're talking to people about that kind of journey. Where do you think you are on your journey at the moment? If you reach base camp, are you kind of just packing your bag to go and get on a flight to go and head somewhere? Where are you at, and what do you also see like success looking like for you?
I think the great thing with the entrepreneurial journey is we have no idea where we are, and that's kind of fascinating also, but really scary. This could be my peak right now, and it could be a long dwindling kind of dive down. I like to think that I'm about to kind of explode through to new heights. I was very, very kind of focused on this idea of building cash flow when I first started out. So we've got 8 different companies now. 7 of them are just pure basis cash flow machines. They bring revenue into our businesses, and then we then kind of are investing into what we're going to call our explosive business we can sell for X millions or whatever. So I have no idea where I am right now, but this whole pandemic thing has made me look at life completely differently. So I've literally just come back from Miami, where I was away for a month by myself, just vibing it out. And I've decided I'm going to do that every single year.
I thought you were going to say every single month there. Well, I was like, call me.
I mean, it was a vibe. But yeah, just this idea that, I've been so focused for the last 10, 11, 12 years on just kind of growing cash flow businesses, growing businesses, that I kind of almost lost track of what life's really about. And the pandemic kind of put me back on that track. And I was like, do you know what, forget it, off to Miami for a month. So no idea where I am on this journey. But I'm just embracing it, man. Like I absolutely just love the process. For me, it's about the journey rather than the end result. I don't really care where I end up. For me, it's just about being happy and just enjoying the process.
These 7 businesses that you have, that are kind of these cash flow businesses you talk about, what gives us sort of understanding of what sort of businesses they are?
Yeah, so I've started loads, failed loads, and then the remnants are the ones that kind of continue, right? So each business has its own MD. So we'd invested it, we'd start it off, and then we kind of launch it. So we've got Distract, which is a marketing agency. That was my business I started in my second year of uni. Real simple paid media agency, which I call the growth machine now of our other businesses, because it's really fun, because I can start a business and be like, have free marketing. We've then got our conveyancing business. It's a nice little 7-figure conveyancing firm. Bought it from administrators in 2020. Does beautifully well. Have a mortgage company, free online mortgages. We've basically taken boomer businesses and making them millennial. Very simple. I think it's a very simple avenue. Got a couple of e-com brands as well. We've got a corporate law firm. We've got a recruitment firm. We have a media company with Tim Lovejoy from Sunday Brunch. We just have lots of random stuff. And then we have our online pharmacy we launched last year, which is probably the most exciting business we have. Like the solutions we're creating and the products we're formulating over the next few years are going to be mind-blowing. So we're basically taking like cash flow and just injecting into our big boom, well, hopefully.
Why online pharmacy?
So interesting story. We met these guys. You know how you have these weird connections with people, right? These guys came through to us. They were like, look, we want a website and our marketing doing for our pharmacy consultancy company. It's via Zoom because of COVID or whatever. But you have to get the proposal in 2 days because you're the last ones. We basically decided, that sort of vibe. You've probably been there yourself. had this little pitch, wasn't really too bothered about it because it was like a 2-day turnaround, which basically means you're just adding a number. Won the pitch, did his rebrand, did the marketing, and then at the end of the project, he was like, let's get some dinner. So I sat down with him, and I always asked the big question, like, what's your grand plan? Like, what's your kind of aim? And he was like, the two boys were like, we want to open a paracetamol manufacturing plant. And I was like, can I invest? And they were like, do you have 4 million? I was like, absolutely not. And then one of them elbowed Matt and said to him, tell him about the hair loss thing. And he was like, oh, pointing to his head, and he was like, this isn't natural, it's paid for. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, I've created this formula that's regrowing my hair. And I was like, nah, snake oil, yeah? And he got his pictures out, and literally, like, he wasn't lying. Yeah, he regrew his hair with this stuff. And I was like, why haven't you boys done anything with this? And he was like, we've got so much on, Pete. And I was like, well, let's partner up. I came back to the office, told Brad, who's my business partner, like, he's kind of like the introverted, like, you know, no one really sees him sort of kind of business guy. He's like, Pete, we should do this. So I called him up the next day, and I was like, 50-50. You do all the regulation, all the compliance, you manufacture operations, and I'll do branding, marketing, and commercials. And I'm like, yeah, let's roll. So it took about a year to get all the kind of regulatory stuff done. They did all their stuff for free. We did all our marketing and branding stuff for free. We chucked about 250, 300K into the business, and we've taken Unthin's doing 1.5 million, and we've been going for 5 months. We've now creating what we believe is going to be the new version of Viagra. So I believe that Viagra is something that's completely like hushed, no one really talks about, but I think we're going through a wave of male liberation right now. So we're trying to make a brand within the kind of, I don't know the correct pharmaceutical terms because I'm not the pharmacist, but basically kind of like be like, look, Viagra, you can take it, it's fine. So we've created this brand called Hung, hung.co.uk, which is just going to be about, like, do you need help getting hung? We've then going into eyelash extensions. So what the boys are really good at, our business partners, is they look at medical grade drugs and they see what the positive side effects are. So again, I could be slightly off on what I say here, but there's a drug that you'd be used for eye drops, and they notice as a side effect your eyelashes extend. So our boys were like, well, rather than just doing eye drops, if you put that in like a brush and you just apply it directly, will that work? And the study said yes. So we've got like 5 or 6 new products coming out, Unthin being the first one, but this whole space is really interesting. You've got Newman, Manual, Hims, all trying to create the pharmacy. We're not trying to create the pharmacy, we want to be the brand. And I think that's a much bigger play because I think, you know, there's a reason that Coke's worth more than Tesco, right? So that's what we're trying to create is the brand within the pharmacy space, and it's gone well so far, and we're just like having a bit of fun on the journey.
So you've obviously got like tons of energy because you can just hear it and feel it from when you're talking, and passion. You know, how do you focus on all this stuff? I mean, there's lots there to think about.
I've got ADHD, so
right.
I don't know. I think that everything. So I'm just an ideas guy. Yeah, I love meeting people. You know, I went to Miami by myself. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just meet people, have fun, and kind of go through life. And I've always been this idea of making connections and just kind of getting along with folk. But Brad, my business partner, is very operational focused. You know, he's absolutely wide in the numbers, and you know, he calms me down. He says no to me more than all the time. So I kind of come running in with like 4 ideas, and he goes, look, we'll just do this one, Pete. Yeah, and then so he makes sure that all my craziness actually happens.
Yeah.
And every single one of our businesses, once it gets past a certain point, has an MD. Yeah. So my main job is Distract, the marketing agency, which is, I guess, the beast behind all these brands. Yeah. But then every single other one has an MD. So they just report to us, basically.
What part of it do you enjoy the most?
Starting new things. I love the idea that, you know, there's us three at the table right now. Who knows if in 2 years' time, 2 weeks' time, that we start a business together, right? I'm not saying we are. I'm just saying that this is what I love so much, is that you have these conversations with individuals that are maybe on the same wavelength. You know, you walk away, someone has a cool idea, and you can call someone up. So I just love the idea that we're all on this journey together. We have no idea where it's going to take us or where it's going to end up. But at the end of the day, like, if you just vibe and enjoy the journey, then everyone's happy, right? So I don't know, it's fun.
I love that. I love that. So what inspires you?
So my mom died when I was really young, and my dad basically raised me and my brother. Well, he raised my brother from like 0, and I saw how hard he worked. Do you know what I mean? Like to get us through. Like, my dad did a really good job. Don't get me wrong, but one income's never going to match 2. So I went through kind of my whole kind of young age trying to fight to be on a level playing field with my friends because they, I remember one time when I got my car, I had to work at Halfords like ruthlessly, and then I had side businesses, I had YouTube businesses that were paying me kind of from the AdSense. I had like a shop online that was, all at the same time, so I could buy a car. One of my mates got 2 cars. This is the sort of level I was at. I lived down south. I was in Cambridge, lots of money in Cambridge. I'm from Stoke-on-Trent, so when I moved down there, we weren't flush. So I guess there's 2 things really. First of all, I kind of want to prove to myself that I can do anything. Like I just believe this idea that everything that I thought was impossible when I was younger, I want to prove to myself that it's not impossible. The watch I have, the car I have, are both the things I wanted when I was 16. I'm not doing that for ego today. I'm doing it so I know that I thought that was impossible when I was 16. So I'm constantly trying to fight with my old version of myself to prove that what I wanted then is possible. Because then what I think is impossible now, it inspires me to kind of keep growing and keep having that. And the second thing is I just don't want my dad to have to ever worry about anything. I don't want my brother to ever have to worry about anything. I feel like I'm in this for the bigger project. But then on top of that, I want to have a family, I want to have kids, and I want to make sure that they don't have to worry about anything too. I feel like this whole idea that I'm in this pivotal point right now where my dad really had to work hard to get me to anywhere, and I don't want my kids to have to work. So I feel like I'm in that middle joint, that joint that's really crucial. So yeah, I don't know.
Amazing. So you talked about ADHD then before. I mean, how do you see that as a founder being? Is that your superpower? Like, how's that show up?
I think we'll see well-documented results in the next 10 to 20 years that say mental health defects are actually massively positive.
Yeah, 100%. We are all not who we are because of, but in spite of, like, I actually think everything we've got that's wrong with us actually, wrong with us is an advantage.
100%. And
neurologically it is. In fact,
I like most of my income from my marketing agency came from me doing a public speaking event. That's kind of how the leads came in. And when I'm doing public speaking, my brain is already answering the next question, but I can't describe it. Like I already know what I'm saying before I said it. I don't have to think about what comes out of my mouth. So like, I feel like that's a huge benefit in that business. And then when it comes to things like negotiations or kind of trying to feel creative ways to do contracts or whatever, like I'm constantly, I don't know, I can't describe it, but I just feel like if I didn't have ADHD, I would be nowhere near where I am today. But then on the flip side, if I didn't have Brad to be able to calm me down and navigate kind of probably from a more strategic perspective, I would also be nowhere I am today. And that gets me onto I guess, another point, which is business partnerships are literally like, I would never start a business ever again by myself, ever. Yeah. I will literally, every single company that I ever get involved with or whatever, there's not even a conversation, right? We both know our share split. Like if I put money in, it doesn't matter if he doesn't. The same equity's there. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm so like bonded with Brad in terms of we just go together, like irrelevant. Like you want to do something cool, I'm there. I want to do something cool, you're there. Like it's almost a conversation to not do it. Does that make sense? Like if you don't want it to be, well, that's an awkward conversation because we just vibed together since the first day of uni. So yeah, business partnerships are great because I know what I'm good at, I know what he's good at, and then combine it. And I just think that's why we're doing reasonably well.
Having alignment.
100%.
Yeah, we've been a lot of founders, and it's really similar. Actually, we've both had business partners, and actually doing it on your own seems a bloody scary place. Actually, a miserable place. So.
It's not even that. It's literally down to the point of like nobody knows how it feels. Like there's so many journeys and moving parts that your journey will be different to yours and mine or whatever. And to have someone who's literally been there from day one, who 100% knows the journey, they know exactly what you went through. They know when you cried. They know when you celebrated. They knew when you wanted to quit. They knew when it wasn't worth quitting. There's every single point. I can turn to Brad and be like, do you remember like in the second year? You remember on the first year? Do you remember we hired that first person? Do you remember we paid ourselves? Like, all these kind of questions and answers, like to have somebody who's literally lived it with you, I think is more valuable than any equity.
Yeah, amazing. And what is your vision now for the group? Where are you trying to get to? Where is your summit?
I don't know. I think for me it's just having fun. The moment I stop having fun is the moment I move to Portugal and take my foreign dividends and
taxable crypto gains.
Taxable crypto gains.
Yeah.
Like that's why I'm buying crypto like you'll never believe. Yeah, that's another conversation. But yeah, so the moment that I decide to do that is when it's no longer fun for me. I don't think I'll ever retire. I think I'll probably end up doing what you guys are doing eventually, is have a decent exit, live off my cash flow companies, and then get into some sort of like VC play. Featured is really fun to me because we can do kind of 100, 200k checks. We can't do the next stage checks. So I see maybe kind of using it as a passage. So we start some things out and then throw them onto the bigger boys or whatever. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's always comes back to just enjoying it. Like, and I think that probably comes off my dad. He's always said, just enjoy what you're doing. And look, if I all of a sudden decided I wanted to quit it all and open a cafe and work in a cafe, I'd have absolutely no ego about doing it. Genuinely.
Mine's a sandwich shop.
Yeah, mine's always been a coffee shop because I just want to talk to people, man. I just want to.
Yeah, mine's always been a sandwich shop. That's been mine.
I don't know what mine is. Never even thought about that.
Pina colada bar. Negroni
cocktail.
I can see
bar.
Negroni,
Exactly.
dusty Negroni type, like mahogany furniture.
Yeah, that's
Skiva,
kind of,
basically.
yeah.
Skiva bar.
We speak to loads of entrepreneurs, and the journey you talk about, this idea, entrepreneurs do what they do because they want to change their outcome, right? So they're in a place where they want to be in a different place. They want to go on that journey. Is a massive theme that we hear. They want to change their future. How do we make sure that for generations that becomes a thing?
So I think for me, it's not. I'm really happy where I am now. I said to someone the other day that if my retirement point was this point, like as in like when I was 17, 18, 19, and I always try and relate to what I was thinking when I was younger, because I think if you try and think about what you want now, it's not the real thing. It changes. So when I was younger, if I was where I am now at 65 years old, I'd have been like, wow, you smashed it. Genuinely, like I just think I'd be really happy with myself. So I'm not too bothered about changing my outcome right now. Genuinely, I'm really happy, living my best life, doing what I want to do. The one thing I would always say is, I guess the reason I'm on this path in the first place is because the only stresses and worries that we ever had between the age of, let's say, 12 and 20 in my family was always money. It was always money. It was always like, my dad stressed about, I remember one time we were in Tesco's and the card got declined. So my dad was like, oh, I'm just going to go to the cash point. And we went out to the kind of car park area and we walked past the cash point. And I was like, Dad, the cash point's there. And he just went, there's no money in the account, Pete. And we went home. So like all the problems we've ever had have been money related. So I guess the big one for me was like, if I just sort that out, then I'm, that's me changing. That's me going to where I think is normalized and no worries. So that for me was just a win. And I'm not mega rich, right? But I can live and I can do what I want to do. And that's kind of the freedom, I guess, aspect. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of my summary of that. Is that look, if I can go and be a billionaire, cool. Am I bothered about being a billionaire? Absolutely not.
Excited to follow your journey, and we'll be cheering on from the sides and wish you all the best of things. And yeah, I know you're gonna reach some heights. So looking forward to watching that. Thank you for joining us today on the summit. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought of today's episode, because it definitely was up there, one of my favourites.